Hello everyone, hope you're all having a wonderful day, and today guys we're going to be going over what I think personally is the best warrior build for Dragon's Dogma 2. So if you want to see the maximum amount of stagger possible on the enemies and to also send them flying into the abyss, then this is the build for you. So what actually makes the warrior so good in Dragon's Dogma 2? Well, to start off with, we have some insane damage with the warrior, especially with Heaven Ward Sunder. Pretty much the first weapon skill you get, and also the mastery skill. We will get onto it later on in the video, but the mastery skill is absolutely filthy for warrior. It's able to pretty much just take off one whole health bar off the monster, if not more, if they are staggered. Now warriors are insanely tanky as well, especially if you are charging up any of those weapon skills. Now we have some of the best knockdown slash stagger potential in the whole entire game. I don't think anything comes close to how much stagger and knockdown potential warrior does have. You're just going to be dropping enemies like sack of potatoes left, right, and center. It is just so satisfying. Now the warrior does have decent movement, but it's definitely not the best, and I wouldn't rely on it. And of course, overall, it's just a hell of a lot of fun to play. I really put warrior up there with probably one of the best classes inside of Dragon's Dogma. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the core skills, and then we'll move on to the weapon skills I am taking, plus my equipment and my augments. Now I just want to touch on core skills a little bit, considering this is the main bread and butter of the warrior. If you go around trying to just use your weapon skills, I feel like you're gonna have a bad time. Not all of them, but most of them. Just because of how slow and sluggish you feel. Using your weapon skills, you can charge them up, do more damage. If you just use them normally, you don't get the full effect that those weapon skills can do. So you're gonna have to get familiar with the core skills. You're gonna have to get familiar with them. It's not too much. I feel like once you get the hang of the warrior core skills, the rest of the game just gets put on easy mode. It really does. So I suppose the first thing to talk about is Mighty Sweep. Now Mighty Sweep on its own is just a big slow horizontal sweep in front of you. You can speed it up when you do get the upgrade for it. So when you reach the end of your swing, you just keep tapping X or whatever the button is for you to do Mighty Sweep, and it will start coming out faster. When you barge, why you've got all this momentum from Mighty Sweep, your barge does come out quicker. It's a hell of a lot quicker, and then you follow up with a Mighty Sweep faster. Another thing that you can do with Mighty Sweep is you can hold it down to get a big charge attack. This does do good stagger, does do good damage. It's really good for just taking out some of the stronger mob enemies that you might have to deal with. But overall, I don't prioritize using this. The chain of blows is fantastic. The fact that it swings behind you, it's going to hit the enemies behind you and in front of you. It's just a really good AoE move to have, and it's just inbuilt into our core skill, which is fantastic. And then for your Y and triangle move, which I think is Stone Splitter, if you do use this while jumping, I feel like that is the best way to use your Y triangle move. And because you've got momentum, because you jumped and dashed, when you use barge, it should come out quicker, and then you can follow up with Mighty Sweep even faster. So those are some really good combos, some good openings to just do on like a lot of the trash pack enemies that you come in contact with. So you're not always charging your weapon skills, and you're not always feeling like you're just slow and sluggish with the warrior. Now moving on over to the weapon skills. Now of course I'm not going to go over every weapon skill because we'll be here forever and nobody wants that. I'm mainly going to go over the ones that I prioritize using all the time, the ones I think are just the best for warrior. Now the first one, and it's no surprise, is Heaven Ward Sunder. This move is OP. It's really good that you get this really early on. It's the very first warrior move you do unlock, and it's arguably one of the best. Fighter and warrior do feel really grounded, but warrior having Heaven Ward Sunder doesn't really make warrior feel as grounded as you do with fighter. So when you fully charge Heaven Ward Sunder, you do leap up into the air and do a massive swing. You're always going to want to try and prioritize using this move to try and hit enemies ahead. If you hit monsters head with this, they will drop faster than a sack of potatoes, I'm telling you. And the sound effect and the feel that you get when you hit an enemy in the head with this is just pure dopamine, baby. Also guys, I completely forgot, but when you are charging up a weapon skill, if you can time it correctly on an enemy's attack, you will parry that attack and you will do more damage. So it is also really satisfying to try and get your charge attacks off just before the enemy attack, so you can parry and then you just do big stagger and also big damage to them. I wouldn't prioritize this at all, but if you can master it, you're gonna feel like a freaking god. The next move I do want to talk about is Razor Sweep. Although I don't really use this much, I do want to obviously touch on it. It is a really good AoE move that the warrior has at its disposal, but I just feel like Chain of Blows with Mighty Sweep does the exact same thing, if not better. You're not using any stam, you can keep spamming it. With Razor Sweep, you charge it once and then you get the one big AoE. Mind you, it does just send enemies flying and knocks them all back. It does help you stop getting overwhelmed by a lot of the mobs, but I just feel like Chain of Blows with Barge is just a hell of a lot better. Now, the next move I am actually using is Ravening Lunge. Now, Ravening Lunge, it was a weird one at first, but when you get the hang of using this, it's such a powerhouse move. The main way that you can use this is just to move faster around the map. I feel like you do run a little bit quicker when you are using this move because you just leave your pawns friggin' in the dust essentially. And then while you're running between point A to point B, any enemy in your way, you just pick them up and you just take them on a journey with you too. Chuck them in the water, smash them up against the wall, do whatever you feel you need to do to these enemies. That is the main way to use Ravening Lunge, is just to use it to go from point A to point B. Any enemies in your way, make sure you pick them up and slam them into other enemies and slam them into a wall for a big finisher. Now, another absolute powerhouse move, and one that I kind of just play around with, I like to switch this on and off, but it is one that I do like using, and that is Indomitable Lash. Now, Indomitable Lash is really strong. If you hit this in an enemy's head while they're on the ground staggered, it is pretty much going to take a big chunk of health off them. I feel like the best way to use this move is when you do stagger monsters. I feel like the charge up time for it is quite long, and it is really frustrating when you think you've got a whole pack of monsters in front of you, they're on the ground, and then they get up and move, and then you're trying to like re-aim, re-barge, and then it all just goes wrong. So I do feel like Indomitable Lash is a bit of a situational move, but man, if, like I said, if you hit it on the enemy's head when they are staggered, it is good night. It is just good night. Now, next weapon skill I really enjoy using is Mountain Breaker. This is just the ultimate stagger move for just about any monster you come in contact with. So this move does have a pretty quick charge time, another reason why I do enjoy using it. Now, the best way to use Mountain Breaker is if the monster's starting to get those wobbles, starting to get those tipsy late night wobbles, hit him with Mountain Breaker and you're just going to drop him. He's just, boop. Now you can move over to the head position and unload whatever weapon skill you want to do the most amount of damage to the head while he's staggered. Mountain Breaker doesn't really have too many other uses besides just big monsters, because if you try to use this on any of the little trash packs, 9 out of 10 times you're gonna miss them, and then when you come back down, you're gonna deal the most mediocre damage you've ever seen. So it's just no point using this unless you are facing a monster. But when you do use it on a big monster, it does arguably some of the best stagger damage the warrior has at its disposal. Now, last but not least, we're gonna go over the master skill, and that is Arc of Might. Arc of Might is disgusting how much damage this thing can do if you got the monster on the ground and you hit his head. You are just going to delete them. It is just going to absolutely knock them into the Shadow Realm. They're not even sure what day of the week it is anymore. The only negative to this move is you have to use all your stamina to get it off. It does have a really long charge time. You really want to dash to the enemy's head when you do knock them down, when you do stagger them on the ground, because you don't have much time. The full charge, you're just going to get the full charge off before most monsters start getting back up. So the timing is a little awkward, but when you do get this down, it is so satisfying to just land this move on the enemy's head and just watch their health bar just disintegrate. But of course, one of the biggest drawbacks is that you will be left with no stamina at the end of this move, so just be careful where you use it. That is why I feel like the best time to use this is when the monster's on the ground and you have a free shot at their head. So that's basically it for the weapon skills, guys. So now we are going to be moving on to equipment. Now we are going to be starting off with the weapons. So I do have my Cinder Spine here. This is a fire elemental club hammer thing that you can use with warrior. The main reason I'm using the Cinder Spine is because of its knockdown damage. You can get weapons with better knockdown damage than the Cinder Spine. I think one of the Dragon Forge weapons has better knockdown, I think. But of course, the Dragon Forge weapon just doesn't come with the fire element on it. So this is very handy. You're never going to have an issue with slimes, which is mainly the only thing I can think of that you will need an element for. And then I've also upgraded this with the Dwarven Smithing. I have been playing a lot of Vocation, so I haven't actually maxed out any of my Vocation's equipment yet, but I am using the Dwarven Armory for Warrior. Main reason for that, it is going to increase your knockdown power. Now, Warrior already has some insane knockdown power, so adding more to that is just going to be very beneficial. I feel like most people are going to be using the Dwarven Armory for their armor, and that is because it's going to give you knockdown resistant, so you can stop just getting knocked down left, right, and center, which can be super frustrating because then you have to wait for your pawn to come over and pick you up. For the helmet, I do have the Valorous helm. There's probably 10 times better helms than this one. This is just the only one I've got. I do have the Indomitable armor. I'm also running the Dauntless Greaves. And then for the rings, I am using the Ring of Aggression. This is just going to flat out increase our strength. And then for the last ring, we have Ring of Vehemence. I'm probably not saying that correctly, but either way, this ring is going to increase your stagger and knockdown chance of foes, which is huge considering that's what we're trying to do as much as possible with the warrior class. And then just quickly for the augments, guys, I do have dominance, which is going to again increase our knockdown power. This is one of warrior's augments, so you can't miss it. We do have lethality, which is going to increase our damage to vitals. Again, this is going to be huge for warriors, especially with the mastery skill. I have asperity from a sorcerer. This is going to increase the chance that our weapons apply status effects because our weapon has fire. It's only at a 45% chance, but it is nice to have an increased chance to try and afflict that fire status effect to the enemies. I've got constancy from sorcerer as well, which is going to increase our knockdown resistance. I've got polarity, which is going to increase my strength during the day and magic at night. Trying to prioritize not going at night for warrior as much as possible. We're on curfew here. We're only staying out during the day, so we get the most amount out of that strength increase. And the last but not least, vitality. I thought this one's just a nice one to have, just to increase our overall health pool. And that's basically it, guys. Hopefully this build video did help you out. I had a lot of fun putting this together. I had a lot of fun playing warrior. Warrior is insanely good. I feel like warrior easily is one of the best classes inside Dragon Dogma 2, especially with the damage and the stagger it has at its disposal. Appreciate all the love and support as always, guys, and until next time, stay safe, peace out.